guys, this is Robyn from Recipe Remix, where we take an everyday recipe and turn it into Trim Healthy Mama inspired. So today, I'm inspired by Scott's mother, Diane. She taught me how to make this amazing meatball recipe, and it's super easy. So let's get started on the sauce. You will first need a blender. If you don't have a blender, you can use a food processor. So let's get to it. Now, I'm using 2 stalks of celery. I washed them. Cut your ends off. Now, celery, sometimes there's the green leafy part on top, and that's a lot of flavor, so I recommend keeping it and using it because it's delicious. So we got 2 celery in here. We're gonna take a whole onion, half an onion, really as much as you like. It's a personal preference. So we got our onion. Now, it calls for a whole green pepper, but you know what? I find green pepper is very, very strong. Believe it or not, when you throw it in a recipe, it's very strong. So for me, I just take it and I use half a green pepper, but it's a personal preference. Now, I remember the first time Scott's mom made this for me, I thought it was gonna be gross because I've never had sweet and sour meatballs. But I discovered these are delicious and you're gonna love them like I do. So this is where we put our vegetables. Now, our sauce. Okay, Truvia. This is stevia splash regular brown sugar. I'm a diabetic, so for me this works. It's better to use half and whatever, however, I don't know the ratio to this, but all I know is the stevia and regular. This is better for me than whole brown sugar. So this is my cheat, or I should say my Trim Healthy Mama inspired, instead of using all brown sugar. So we're going to add the brown sugar. My mom's recipe calls for half a cup, but that's too much. I'm using a 1/4 cup. Now, you can ultimately use as much as you want. I just don't like it super, super sweet. So we're gonna put the brown sugar in. Then it calls for water. Now it is, I believe, 1 cup water. Here we go. 1 cup water, and you can do this actually all in a measuring cup. And it calls for 1 cup ketchup, which is really neat because I just bring it up to the 1 cup.
And you're using the sugar-free ketchup.
Oh yes, thank you. And I'm using sugar-free ketchup. If you want to use regular, that's your preference. But again, I'm using sugar-free. So we're gonna pour this puppy in here.
Just as a note, regular is not Trim Healthy Mama.
That's right, thank you. That's right, I'm so sorry about that. Yes, regular is not Trim Healthy Mama friendly. Now, what we're gonna do is it calls for mustard. 2 tablespoons, I just eyeball it, but I will put the recipe up for you when I do it. And it calls for Worcestershire sauce. Some people say it differently, but it's still the same. Now this is a secret, apple cider vinegar. Now mine says with honey and ginger. You don't taste the ginger part. I don't know, it's an amazing flavor, but it tastes different. I buy this at BJ's, yes. Now this calls for half a cup. When I try it, when I actually taste it when it's done, sometimes I add more vinegar because I'm a vinegar freak. I love vinegar. So we have all this. Now, of course, most important part, salt and pepper. Can't go wrong with salt and pepper, right? So everything's in here. Now this is the base for your sauce. And what I do?
Is the Worcestershire supposed to go in?
Yeah, I did put the Worcestershire. So everything's in here, ready to go. This is the base for your sauce. All there. How simple is that? Now, we're gonna puree this. Let's go. Pardon the noise, guys. This is kind of loud. All right, if you'll notice, come take a peek up close. I'm gonna show you guys something. See how it changed color? Don't worry about it, because that's everything all mixed in, so you don't have to worry. So what we're gonna do is, let me bring this over here to you. You're gonna take a big pot because you wanna get your meatballs in there too. You're gonna just gently pour this in. Give it a good dump out. Oh, thank you, Scott. Dump this out. Oh, if you could smell this, you smell the vinegar, you smell the brown sugar, oh, the salt, the pepper, the onions, it smells delicious. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna bring this to a boil, and when it comes to a boil, we're gonna turn it down and simmer it. And we wanna cook it just for maybe a half hour on a simmer. And when I come back, guys, I'm gonna clean up and I'm gonna show you how to make meatballs. Stick with me. When people make meatballs, the first thing that they think of is bread or crackers. And that's not really Trim Healthy Mom inspired. So my husband came up with this wonderful idea of making sort of our own breadcrumbs using Joseph's flax, oat bran, and whole wheat Lavash bread. So what we're gonna do is to make our breadcrumbs, it's super easy and super fast. Let's take one piece out of here.
And since the meatballs are an S meal, this helps maintain the integrity of the S.
Thank you. My husband's very smart. He picks up where I forget. So we're gonna put this puppy in here. I'm doing them a little bigger, but you know, it helps if you do them smaller. Now I just happen to have a mini chopper. If you have a big food processor, you can absolutely use that too. This will be a little noisy, but it'll be worth it. Now let's give this puppy a shot. And you want it pretty fine. I didn't say that. Okay, come look. This is a perfect consistency, and I'll show you why in a minute. So, we have this here. We take this off. Now, this looks kind of chunky. This is not fine like breadcrumbs, but stick with me. I'll show you why. What temperature did you cook these at?
350.
Okay, so we're gonna spread these on. Now they feel really kind of moist because they're not dried out. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna put these in the oven at 350. Cook about 5-7 minutes. I mean, just keep an eye on it. You want them nice and brown. Now, when they're done, they're gonna look like this. But they're not really refined yet, are they? Like breadcrumbs. So this is a trick my husband came up with. I should call him Scott instead of my husband. That does sound kind of, he has a name. Let's give him a name since that's what it is. So we're gonna put these crackers in here, or as I call them, crackers. And we're gonna chop these fine. Actually, let's grind them. Ooh, it's good there. This is the first time I've done it, so you're learning with me. Ooh, it's really nice. This, I would say, is pretty perfect, Scott. But guys, just like breadcrumbs, that is so cool. So, with breadcrumbs, you want to season. And that's actually my bad, I forgot. So we're gonna take these breadcrumbs, just because I quickly forgot. I put fresh parsley. You can chop it up by hand, but I have my mixer here, so I'm just gonna quickly throw a little bit of parsley in for the meatballs, because it adds just a nice little flavor. Not a lot, because parsley is
You haven't put in the blade.
Okay, thank you, honey. Parsley is actually very strong, so you don't need tons, especially fresh parsley. So let's chop this up. Ooh. My husband bought this for me not long ago, and I'm just like so excited. This is like such a handy little dandy thing. Okay, so you got your parsley, you got your breadcrumbs. Always season your breadcrumbs, as I say. The Trim Healthy Mama inspired breadcrumbs, of course, using the flatbread. A little bit of salt and pepper. Now, I'm going to just quickly show you what I have. I have a pound of ground beef. This is a pound, right? Right, a pound of ground beef. I'm gonna go ahead I'm gonna get this in a bowl. I'm gonna mix the parsley, the meat. Actually, I can show you. I have a minute. Let me show you. And then I'll go ahead and mix the meatballs. Okay, meatballs. Here we go. So we're gonna open our ground beef. Okay. Open this ground beef. Get this ground beef in. If you happen to have these, remember, take them out because I forgot last time. Throw this in here. Always healthy, healthy. Make sure you don't spread any raw meat around. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our breadcrumbs. We're going to add our parsley. And of course, to the meat, pepper. Even though you season the breadcrumbs, you gotta season your meat. That's totally different, separate. My hand's wet, but that's okay. Salt. Now, I was hearing a lot of people talking about their binder for their meatballs not sticking together. These stick together. Now, how do I bind it? I brought the little fella 1 egg only. My mother-in-law's recipe calls for milk, but you don't need it. You don't want your meatballs mushy. You want them firm.
The breadcrumbs help?
Yes.
With the egg to bind it?
Absolutely. Thank you, honey. That they absolutely do. So let's move our contaminated meat. Get it right down here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, you don't want to see me mix these by hand, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix them up. I'm going to do most of my meatballs and then I'll come back and I'll just show you how I do a few and we will be right back with you. Guys, welcome back. Now we mixed our meatballs. Now I want to show you the consistency of it before we get scooping. Look at this. You see how beautifully it sticks together, doesn't fall apart, nothing. And if you could smell it, you'd love it. Okay, now, how do you get this consistent size here? Because you know what? You want them to all cook evenly. So I use a small ice cream scoop. Now, I don't know, it says size 30. I don't know what that means, but you know what? You can use any scoop you want, any size you want, however size you want your balls. That's what you would use. So I'm going to just scoop a meatball in there. Oh, the consistency is so beautiful, guys. I wish you could feel it. It's so wonderful and firm. I might be going into a dangerous area here, guys, but I don't mean anything by that. So, all firm and ready to go in the oven. They look perfect. We're gonna throw these in. When they come out, I'm gonna show you what they look like. See you shortly. Hi guys, welcome back. Okay, before we discuss the meatballs, Scott wanted me to mention the Joseph's flatbread. Now, I have been purchasing it at BJ's. If you can find it locally, great. If not, Scott says this is available on Amazon. So that's when you know where to get it. Now, okay, to the fun part. Come look at these meatballs. You see how beautiful these are? Firm. And you can see all the flavoring, the onions, the parsley.
Crispy bottoms.
Oh yes, and absolutely. You know what they say? I'm going to teach you a trick right now, or a tip. If you do not color your meat, no, there's a saying, no color, no flavor. So you want to make sure, whenever you cook your meat, make sure to fry it first. Give it some color so you have flavor. Now, remember the sauce we made? All right, here we go. The sauce is simmered for 30 minutes. Come take a look at how luscious. You see how it's kind of chunky a little bit? Well, not chunky, but full. That's your celery, your peppers, your onions, all this goodness. Now this is hot out of the oven, so I'm gonna pull this over with my mitt if I can get it. Okay, you're gonna wanna make sure to scrape all this goodness off this pan because this is all your flavor, all your money. So we're gonna go put these in. Here we go. This is Scott's absolute favorite dish, well, except for cranberry meatloaf, in the entire world. This is what he loves. And I must say, I love it too. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get all this money off the bottom here. And how we're gonna do that is a spatula. So let's get this going here. We'll pick this up. Pardon my burnt muffin, my oven mitt. I burnt it and I haven't replaced it yet. So let's see if we can get off what we can. There's not really, you know what's great about this? There's not a lot of fat and grease. Really, there's actually nothing to really scrape off because there wasn't really much fat or grease. It's just a bonus.
The crumbs help absorb it some.
That's right.
So it stays in the meatball, the flavor.
So now look at this, guys. They're in their bath. I'm gonna cook them slow and low for 30 minutes. Go ahead, Scott, what are you gonna say?
Don't forget the rice remix.
Oh yes, thank you. Right, the remix, also the remix. When you think of sweet and sour meatballs, you automatically assume rice. But we are making this Trim Healthy Mom inspired, and this is our remix. It's by Bird's Eye. It's rice cauliflower. Now, you're gonna cook this just till it's al dente. Don't overcook it or it'll be mush. Cook this till it's al dente.
Or make your own.
Oh yeah, you can make your own. Put this in a bowl, scoop some of this delicious over it, and you will be so thrilled that you made these. So I'm gonna encourage you.
And it is an S.
Oh yes, I forgot that. Yes, it is an S, all S. So I'm gonna encourage you to come back to Robyn's Recipe Remix. Click subscribe on the bottom, leave any comments, and I'll show you a picture when it's all put together. Have a wonderful day.